young lad, I was a little eccentric. I enjoyed dressing up in costumes and pretending I was someone else. Thank goodness I've grown out of that. As a little boy, I would sometimes put a cape on before school and pretend I was Superman, or wear a deer hunter's hat and pretend to be Sherlock Holmes. I had a very active imagination, and for the most part, the other kids just sort of went along with it. There was one day, however, when I remember an older boy who pointed out that I was being stupid. So I beat him up. No, I didn't beat him up. Actually, I don't quite remember what I did, but the only reason I mention it today is because that incident, that boy calling me stupid, had to be 38 years ago. So why do I still remember it today? I remember it because it hurt. I remember it because his words felt like a tiny little cut. And for whatever reason, they left a scar on my soul. I left a scar on his face, but he left a scar. The thing of it is, every single encounter we have, every human being that we have met throughout our lives, or meet, effectively matters and means something. We can leave people feeling better about who they are, or we can leave them feeling worse. I have talked to people at Camp Wendake who have experienced so much hate because of their sexual orientation that I can't even repeat the language from this pulpit. That kind of hate stays with a person. That kind of hate runs very, very deep. Too often I hear offhanded remarks about our indigenous people, our Muslim neighbors, even our Christian brothers and sisters. And those comments, most assuredly, will make their ways into the ears of the very people and will sting and divide and separate. Yet today, when Jesus describes heaven, he reminds us that in my Father's house there are many rooms. If it were not so, would I have told you that I go to prepare a place for you? And when I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and I will take you to myself, that where I am, you may also be. Jesus prepares many rooms. Many rooms, many, many rooms. I don't doubt for a second that those who are treated unkindly in this life, those who are belittled and bullied, I do not doubt that they have a special place in heaven, a room waiting for them. Our God of love has made certain of that. Our job, though, is to make room for others here on earth. Our job is to make a space for those who are different from us. Our job is to give a little piece of heaven to those where life has become a living hell. Because every single encounter we have matters. Today we thank our mothers, or those in our lives who have accepted and cared for and nurtured us as mothers. I can't help but think of the appropriateness of our gospel reading and the impact these mothers have had on our lives. Today I think of the mothers of this world who managed to bring a little piece of heaven to earth by preparing a space and for loving their children. Like so many other mothers in this room, I remember my mother growing up and how she always made room for others. Friends and relatives were welcomed with open arms, no matter their politics, their race, their economic status. That just is the way it was. And that is the way it needs to be. That is the gospel. That is the good news. In her book, Mary's Way, Peggy Millen writes, "I was on a train on a rainy day. The train was slowing down to pull into a station. For some reason, I became intent on watching the raindrops on the window. Two separate drops, pushed by the wind, merged into one for a moment, and then divided again, each carrying with it a part of the other. Simply by that momentary touching, neither was what it had been before. And as each one went on to touch other raindrops, it shared not only itself, but what it had gleaned from the other. I saw this metaphor many years ago, and it is one of the most vivid memories. I realized then that we never touch people so lightly that we do not leave a trace. Do we make room for others? Do we make space in our hearts for all of God's children, for all of God's creation? What trace do we want to leave on another's soul? In the deep, dark days of apartheid in South Africa, a 9-year-old black boy was walking down the sidewalk with his mother when they noticed, walking in their direction, a white man. In the days of apartheid, when a black person and a white person met while walking on the sidewalk, the black person was expected to step into the gutter to allow the white person to pass and nod their head as a gesture of respect. On this day, before the young boy and his mother could step off the sidewalk, the white man stepped off the sidewalk. And as the mother and the boy passed, he tipped his hat as a gesture of respect. The young boy, confused, asked his mother why the white man stepped aside, and his mother told him that he stepped off the sidewalk because he was a man of God. He was an Anglican priest. In that moment, the 9-year-old boy found his calling. A young Desmond Tutu looked at his mother and said, "I want to be a man of God too." Desmond Tutu's commitment to equality of all human beings due to their creation in God's image has been a positive light in this world ever since. We never touch people so lightly that we do not leave a trace.